Have you ever had teammates that speak to you like this?
Holy shit, Reyna, you are the most useless human being I've ever met! You went 4-21 on Reyna!
We've all been there where we end up playing with a rager, trash talker, or someone who's incredibly negative in a game. They spoil the party and end up creating an atmosphere that's quite gloomy and not fun to be in. In Valorant, communication is a crucial part of the game and can make or break your experience. If you clicked on this video, you may be asking yourself why do the pros never experience this, or how do the pros communicate in their pro games so that they play better? From these questions, you may be thinking that pro communication is highly detailed tactics with a high level of seriousness, but that's not actually how good communication is made by the pros. In this video, you'll see just what I mean. We'll be detailing out the types of communication that pros use and how they differ from what you're currently doing. From there, you'll be able to figure out the flaws in your communication and have a large variety of tools to improve it, thus allowing you to play at your best and, most importantly, have a good time playing Valorant. So without further ado, let's jump right on into it. Starting things off, if you're not playing with a pre-made 5, or even if you are playing with a pre-made 5, you're probably communicating less often than you should be. There's likely a lot of dead space that isn't taken advantage of. You might be giving out a few basic callouts, but you're also likely missing some callouts that could be crucial for a round. Some of the basic callouts you've probably given include where an enemy is after you spot them or get killed by them, and what site you want to push or defend out. Sure, these are foundational comms, but there's so much more that can be done, which is why in pro games, you'll actually notice there's rarely any moments where someone is not talking. And no, they're not overdoing it and giving useless, unnecessary comms, but they're giving every detail they find to ensure nothing goes missing and to avoid any miscommunication or misassumptions from occurring. Let's take a listen to some of the comms from 100 Thieves and Sentinels and pay attention to what they're communicating and how much dead silence there is in the game.
Wall and booger now, I think. Wall and booger now.
I don't see anyone. Starting for backside as well.
Yeah,
His wall should be gone.
I missed it.
Did he wall yet?
Yeah, his wall's
I killed one of fell.
Nice.
We're walking to the cell.
Ethan just traded, sir.
I'm going top side right now.
I'm breaking a hole in the
Starting for
wall.
back yellow right now.
Yeah, dart.
Breaking a hole in the wall.
Could be side still.
I'm playing the hole.
Probably in
Nice.
4v1.
Holding it. Holding it.
Nice!
Make him commit. I have yellow walk up.
I think it might be snow.
Yeah, I have it.
He's kitchen or something, right? Or snowman.
I have it. He got me.
He's snow. He's snow.
He goes snide on you.
I have a dash. I'm using it.
Nah.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Alright, with each of the 3 clips that we just showed, there was a ton of communication going on, probably more than you'd even experience in an entire ranked game. Pro players are constantly dishing out every piece of information that they can provide. Some of the pieces that you might have heard in these clips include when and where they're using an ability, whether an area of the map is clear, where an enemy is most likely to be, and where each teammate or player is looking at or going towards. Any information about a player or enemy is crucial to have. A lot of players are focused on enemy locations, but they forget to think about their teammates' positions too, which leads to several moments where you think your teammate has your back, but they didn't, and you get killed for free because the communication wasn't timed properly. We've also seen many times where an enemy location is called out, but it was called out multiple seconds ago. With how fast players can move, callouts are really only useful for a few seconds before a player can move to another spot. This is why the constant communication is required. You should be constantly making moves throughout the round, and the enemies should be too. That's 10 people that you're analyzing and updating on for every second of the game, and as such, this is why pros have so much to say as they're updating all of these moves that are going on in the moment. If you want to communicate like the pros, then you want to seek out information on a constant basis and always relay it to your teammates. After watching this first tip, make sure to comment below how your communication differs from the pros in the clips that were just shown. Speaking of communication and pros, if you want to learn even more tips and tricks that will get you to play just like them, then you absolutely want to go to SkillCapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you everything that you need to know to get there. The link will be provided in the description below. Next up, at the pro level, pros are constantly coordinating team plays. This is a highly overlooked aspect of Valorant. It's a 5 vs 5 format. Players are meant to work together for the best results. Yet we see many players going for crazy individual plays and then getting frustrated with the team overall if those hero plays don't work. Some of you guys watching this video may know basic team plays such as flashing for a teammate or pushing together, but it's important to clearly communicate exactly when these plays are going to happen on what each player is responsible for doing. Let's take a look at a few clips from Fnatic and Sentinels and see if you can spot the communication that's being done to pull off those team plays.
He's gonna kill me.
I'm piss.
I'm flashing.
Do it. That
Time.
Just hide.
Hide.
Get that. Hide. I'm hiding. One back.
One more side. Nice.
I'm on it. They know I'm here.
One
3, 2, 1. Swing in.
He's right side.
Two, both.
They know I'm here. One. Swing in together.
3, 2, 1, go.
Lining up. Nice!
Almost everything.
Yo, who's breaking dart? Do I need to do it?
If I get blind, I can't. Ethan should.
Yes, Peter, you have to do it.
Bit him.
He's droning.
Yes,
They're running first. They're running first. I think
Flash
I'll
is
teach
spawn.
here.
Flash is spawn.
Wait,
For Peter.
Wait, yeah, can we swap?
Yeah, I'm ready to.
Ready? I
Yeah.
can flash this guy.
Yeah,
completely.
flash.
Ready? Flashing.
Go on.
Top
Two.
two, top one sewer.
Sewer dead. One more sewer. Two. One more sewer.
Sewer out.
That,
Remaining.
getting half.
At least they tried.
Nice!
Alright, if you didn't catch them, there were multiple different team plays that were called out, including when a player was going to flash, who was going to watch for enemy abilities, and when exactly to push so that each player goes at the same time. One of my personal favorites here is the clip from Asuna where he's asking who's going to shoot down the enemy Silva Dart. I'm sure we've all experienced an enemy Silva Dart where every player turns around to try to shoot it. As a result, no one is looking at the choke points anymore and the enemy can just ram right in. These little details and comms allow for much smoother and more timely team play where everyone is on the same page and knows exactly what their role is. Even if it's just throwing out an ability, call it out when you're going to do it. If you want to push an area with a teammate, time it out, push on 3, 1, 2, 3. With an increase in these kinds of comms, you'll find yourself in a much better position to win versus if you don't comment out and then one person goes into early or late and ends up getting team flash or getting killed without being traded. This third tip is going to highlight one of the biggest differences between pro level comms and normal competitive comms. Currently, there are quite a few videos out that showcase actual comms that are being made in pro matches. One of the things that pro level comms do the best at is hyping each other up. Let's take a quick glance at how pros are communicating at the end of the rounds that they win.
Comes through from Shahzam, the shock dart will do the damage.
One dead default. Back dead. Nice, let's go. He's big, back side.
Nice! On that shit. It's optimistic now to try to do this. There's two players to worry about. Oh my goodness, Mystic somehow makes that one work.
He
doesn't have it.
You got it. We lost.
He doesn't have it.
Yeah, you got it.
Nice!
Push me.
Got him.
It's a trade. Steady
And
Z
now
and
let's take a look at how a typical round
have to get him out of short.
match.
Wait, the Jet has 27 kills, guys.
One enemy remaining.
He's on top.
Got him.
Okay, wait. Guys, you guys.
Now tell me, which comms made you more amped up to continue pushing yourself and playing your best? It's likely the Sentinels comms. Now these sorts of hype comms from pros may seem over the top, but they help immensely in keeping a positive and motivative environment so that each player continues to perform. Perhaps your teammate is popping off, or maybe it's the exact opposite and they're performing horribly. Hyping up your teammates for even a tiny moment like grabbing a pick could be the extra boost that player needs to shine for the entirety of the remaining rounds for the game. This compared to where I got an ace in my clip and didn't receive any sort of feedback from my team on it. Rather than being amped to continue playing well, I returned to my normal state of play the following rounds and played pretty average when I could have had the potential to go even bigger if my team had my back. Give those good team comps, but also give praise to when your teammates do something good, or heck, even if you do something good, go ahead and praise yourself. You'll see pros also doing this where they make an insane play and go, oh my god, I'm insane. Again, it's hyping them up so that they continue to pop off. Going back into some of the more detailed comms from the pros, many players will continue to use comms even when they're dead. And no, they're not backseating, but simply continuing to follow the principles that we've already stated in this video, which is giving information when it's gathered. Let's listen into a few quick snippets from 100 Thieves and Fnatic from players that were dead.
B main, I'm fighting B main.
80 damage to the stage.
Go tip ready.
I can heal.
Could have healed.
Could heal.
They were both snakes area.
You gotta ult. Sage roll already?
He walled mid.
Okay. No.
One enemy remaining.
Good job.
Get lamps though, man. Get lamps.
Recon.
Lamps out. Out lamps flash.
Just because you're out of the round doesn't mean that you can't still contribute. Rather than out-tabbing or looking at your phone when you're eliminated, it's important to keep looking for information that can help your team. Where was the player that killed you? Did you spot something that your teammate may have missed on the map? perhaps you gather some information and have a good prediction of what the enemy is going to do. These are just a few examples of some great comms that pros are giving when they're down and out. Make sure not to mistake this with backseeing though, which is when you're trying to tell a player what to do while you're dead. This is more likely to cause mistakes, as the player has to do a quick mind swap from their original plan, or they have to take the time to think about what you said and then decide whether they want to follow it. Let the player do what they're trying to do, and whether it was the right move or not can be saved for discussion later on. In the moment though, calls should be reserved for information, and any sort of criticism should be saved for later depending on what kind of teammates you're with. Moving on, one of the similarities that we found that pro level comms and normal competitive comms will have is that they both will repeat information several times if it's something that's deemed important to know in an instant's notice. You've likely heard someone call something repetitively, like someone's at A 3 times in a row, or kitchen, kitchen, kitchen. Some pros will elevate their voices to emphasize that it needs to be heard and processed quickly. Let's take a look at a few examples here.
He's behind you. Speedway, speedway.
Speedway, I'm good. It's minus 100.
One snowman.
I'm dead.
You're good, you're good.
Snowman.
Two snowman. Logic snowman.
I'm backside.
One more snowman running out.
The running
Yeah,
six snowman.
Some players may think, oh, you could have just said it once or said it calmly and gotten the point across, but this repetition and increase in volume is actually quite important. In the heat of the moment, if something is repeated or spoken loudly, it will get absorbed and processed much quicker. Based on the tone of voice and sense of urgency, a player listening to you will either take that information at a moment's notice and make the appropriate play, or they'll casually analyze it within a longer period of time and the play could be delayed, which gave the enemy time to make their move instead. These communication emphasizing techniques are mostly built out of habit, but we found that it truly does wonders in getting a player's attention so that they can respond quickly if that is what the communicator feels is necessary. If there's an important message to be relayed, make sure that you make it clear that that's the case, rather than casually saying something in a soft-spoken voice, which is less likely to grab a player's attention. Last but not least, a common misconception that players have is that pros communicate in a very professional manner and that the comms are always incredibly serious. While this may be the case for some players, the top Valorant teams leave room for casual talk and banter. Whether that's before a game, after a game, or during a game, the top players leave room for chill vibes. The top team at the making of this video, Sentinels, does this incredibly well. Let's listen to some of their comms and we'll then dive into why this sort of casual talk is actually important for your performance in game.
Dude, I'm being plunged by my headset right now. This shit's squeezing my brain.
You can loosen it. Hunter. So when we fist bump,
Oh, yeah.
what are we doing? Are we doing this? I guess.
Air
Kinda
fist
like this
bumps.
one. Whoa, my shit came off.
Are we doing like air fist?
Like this, like this. Like this, right? I'll do it like this.
Come on, you're gonna leave me hanging?
Wait, oh
this
yeah,
looks
and then be like
sus.
that, and then
Oh, we're
Zoms.
starting?
It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
practice.
Sus.
Practice.
I don't know. I'm just hitting you. This is a punch. Alright, let's go. Let's get it.
Damn, they're taking attack?
Oh shit.
They're scared. Sheesh.
Can I wear
No,
shorts?
no,
Yeah, no, you're not allowed to.
I need a personal fan.
Wait, are you actually not allowed to wear
Yeah.
shorts?
Yeah, every CS tournament they never let you wear shorts.
What
It's
about-
like a
what
club.
a-
It's like a club.
What about boxers?
Most pro teams will have a healthy balance between serious comms but also casual comms. The clips here were mostly used during timeouts, but you'll see pros doing this at the start and ends of rounds as well. The reason for these casual comms is that it helps the players keep calm and relaxed. A concept known as the stress performance curve shows that if players are not stressed enough, then they won't perform, but if they are too stressed, then their performance will deteriorate as well. It's a rare occurrence, but we've seen players that strive too hard to be perfect, where they're trying to dictate every single play and move, and even if a tiny issue occurs, that player is likely to tilt and their performance will heavily decline. There's a healthy balance that needs to be achieved in order for a player to play at their best, and having these casual talks and friendly banter helps to bring players to that optimal performance range. Take things seriously with your comms, but also remember that this is a game that's meant to be enjoyable and fun, and if we don't balance those two aspects out, then we'll have to prepare for trouble and make it double. That's all we have for this video. Make sure to leave a comment on what your current comms look like and how they compare to the pro comms that we mentioned in this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind, helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.